you are proposing about an increment in salaries, and at the same time Kenyans are crying about salaries of the MPs are too much, that it should be reduced. What are your comments on that?
It's me proposing, really.
No, the MPs. You are, as members of parliament.
I think I need to correct that.
As members of parliament.
First, I'm not proposing any increment to my salary or any member of parliament. Should we have such a motion before us, I will be the first one to shut it down. But there have been an attempt probably to try and look at the perks that are enjoyed by the members of parliament, including the house allowance and what do you call it, house allowance, car provision, and such other allowances that are enjoyed by public officers. So that is the only bill that has been presented to Parliament so far, but it has not seen the light of the day. So I think it is also not correct to say members of Parliament have increased their salary. It's actually not right, because we've not made such an attempt. But should we have such an introduction of a bill in Parliament, I think I'll be the first person to shut it down. In this current economic environment, we are not really in that position to increase our salary.
All right.
No any other. And my queue, there is a commission, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, that is mandated to overlook the salaries of all the public officers. So MPs really have nothing to do with the changing or increasing of their salary. It is absolutely up to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission.
All right. Yeah. Honorable Odege, would you pin it down if it comes up?
As a career trade unionist, I can clearly tell you that there are parameters of salary reviews which are far much beyond MPs. They cannot determine it themselves.
So the way Kenyans cry,
it's purely between the Parliamentary Service Commission and SRC. It's not for the MPs to decide. So those parameters, like you'll have to look into economic performance, ability to pay, also the cost of living must be put into consideration before you come into agreement to increase salaries. I don't think there is any individual MP who can determine his own personal salary, but that one is the prerogative of the Parliamentary Service Commission and SRC to negotiate. Yeah.
What are your comments on that, Areba?
My comments will be that at least for once we are getting them on the same level, in that, first of all, we have to look at the issue holistically. I know the reason why he's laughing is that probably we have blown this discussion out of proportion, in that every time we are having the public consuming information which might not be true necessarily, so that then at the end of the day, as you said, there have been attempts. But what we hear is that the salaries have been increased, which is far from the truth. And my brother here has clearly stated that the MPs, by their own motion, then cannot be able to initiate that review.
Then what is the truth? Far from the truth, what is the truth?
I could make my point in that we have the Parliamentary Service Commission, which in quotes is their employer, or rather their manager. Then we have the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, which then sets what public officers earn. So then at the end of the day, these two bodies need to sit and harmonize it, so that they also have to be sensitive with regards on the ability to pay. All of us are crying out on the cost of living. But I understand where the MPs are coming in, that we have some sections within public officers who enjoy some kind of better privileges. And I know they will agree with me that we have some sectors in the executive who then have even confidential votes, who then at the end of the day, they choose what to spend, they choose what not to spend, they choose what is audited, they choose what is not being audited, so that then the MPs will come out and say, hey, if we are having some sections in the executive who enjoy this some kind of wide playing field, also us, why can't we have that mandate? So this is a conversation that needs to be taken holistically. But as I said, MPs cannot just wake up and say, hey, we need $1 million. Even yourself here, you cannot determine your own salary. The company itself, your employer, has parameters in which you're supposed to be paid. If MPs had that right to determine what they earn today, trust you me, even their personal assistants, even their clerks and everybody will also have that right to say, hey, I want to earn this. So you cannot determine your own salary.
Are Kenyans misunderstanding the aspects of MP salary?
Definitely. You've heard from my colleague and the gentleman here there is a misconception, misinformation out there to the public that MPs are always, in fact, it's like we are just in parliament to pass on salaries and nothing else but salaries. So we really need to tell the public the truth, and the truth is that since the 12th parliament, there has never been an attempt to change the salaries or the structures of remuneration of members of parliament whatsoever. Or what came up was a proposal from the Public Service Commission to reintroduce the perks that the MPs are not enjoying, while the other members of the public officers are also enjoying, like house allowance that is enjoyed by maybe stock of the CAS, the principal secretaries, and other government officials. We are talking about car allowance, and such like allowances. So those are the only attempt that was shut down, and I remember at the time that bill came, it did not see the light of the day. But there has never been an attempt to increase the salary. There is any motion, no bill that has come that I know of. And I've been in parliament since we began the 12th parliament. I've never experience such an emotion. So I think it is an information out there, and we just need to tell Kenyans what is the right information out there. Yeah.
Now, shifting gears, referendum. Do we need seats like the Prime Minister's seat and the Deputy Prime Minister's seat? Areba?
You had to start with me. So that
Yeah,
then you don't crucify them.
But I think you should have started, do we need a referendum or not?
Do we need so that we set the pace. First of all,
even from the point, the referendum.
I think you already decided.
You already decided for us. You see, you are deciding for us whether we're having a referendum or not.
I have not. Do we need it?
First of all, in that the lawmaking process is something that cannot stop. In that every day we have to relook at the laws that we have, so that then we think that, is this working for us, is this not working for us? And that is why the framers of the Constitution, which the Kenyans adopted, put in Article, I think, 255, 256, and 257, which then looks at the modalities of amending that Constitution. So at the end of the day, in that this law is not cast on stone. This law is meant to be changed to suit what Kenyans want. That is the first point. So if Kenyans are to decide that we need a referendum, who are our representatives to say no? Where the conversation now diverts is that what is the real motive behind that? And I've said before that at the end of the day, Kenyans feel that there are some sections which are not working for them. We feel that there are some seats which are really, we are not seeing any impact. We have duplication of duties down from the grassroots up to the national level. So that then at the end of the day, how can we then change some of these positions so that at the end of the day, we have Kenyans getting value for representation. So that at the end of the day, I'm not represented, I don't know, by a ward admin, a governor, a senator, a women representative, a sub-county admin. Now you see the president is really putting a lot of effort into the provincial administration. So then are we getting value for that? So I believe that if that comes, that we need to change the law, then we need to change it for the better of Kenyans.
Now, this time around, I'd like us to get into it with a lot of keenness, in depth, because in as much as we talk about the referendum, we have many seats involved. The prime ministers, the women representatives, even the county assembly, the members of county assemblies. We have other seats that are being discussed that people propose. Some should be abolished, some should be removed, and some should be added. So starting from the prime ministerial seat, that seat, it begs the question, what should be done to the first runners-up of a presidential race after someone has won? What happens to the rest who did not get that seat? Let me get to you.
Okay, before I answer your question, let me take you back a bit on the issue of referendum. I think by next year, the constitution we are about to amend will be 10 years old. I think within 10 years is enough for us to clearly know where there are weaknesses. And let us not wait for someone from another country to come and correct it for us. It's our own responsibility to correct it. So on a referendum, I would say yes, it's due now. We need it. Then number two, looking at the politics here in this country, me and Amisi will confirm to you that we are living in a very polarized country. And from history, if you look at the reason why people are dying to be presidents of this country, when you trace our history of this winner takes all, you look at our tribes, you'll find the most empowered tribes are those who have managed to occupy that post.
The most empowered ones.
The most empowered tribes. So you'll find those who have not got an opportunity to occupy this seat will always die for it so that they can also empower their people, which is a very bad trend. So if you ask me if we need the post of Prime Minister and other posts, like Deputy Prime Minister and the others, I don't want us to peg it on those who lose in the elections. Yeah. Let us make it in a way whereby it will be beneficial to Kenyans, not benefiting somebody because you have lost in the elections.
How?
Because if we, how is what we are going to answer in the referendum. Because if we cannot answer, if the how part of it is not there, then we don't need referendum. So the word how is what Kenyans are going to debate upon and get the best answer to what we are going to come up with. Because like today, if you say you go contest, if you lose, you'll be either Prime Minister or a Deputy Prime Minister. Then we'll get people who are, we'll get so many people registering parties just to get those posts. We must come out very clearly how we are going to distribute those posts. And we have to even tie them to the number of seats. We have to even tie them with the number of votes so that we get people who are credible enough to occupy those posts. Not in a situation whereby we allow them to be these two friends. No, we want a situation whereby these things will reflect the image of this country and allow people also to enjoy the fruits of our country. When I talk about the fruits, let's say, for example, okay, people are saying we have a weak president, which I'm not supporting. What I need to tell you here that if you go for referendum, we need a shared power. Not a weak president, not a powerful prime minister, a shared power. The shared power would mean if we have 22 ministries, we look at relevant ministries for governance, you give to the president. The ones for service delivery, you give to the prime minister. Then we have a shared responsibility where the country will be governed.
So through that we have the delegation of roles.
That's what I talk about, and that's what I stand for. And to conclude, we need referendum like yesterday.
Your take on that?
Yeah, I think we are all unanimous that referendum is inevitable. I think what's remaining is what we've talked about, what is the question of that referendum. Referendum is a process. It will not happen in not a one-day event. Remember, we are pegging on the Building the Bridges initiative to come up with what are the content of that referendum. And that process might also face hitches. You find some people coming up to say we are going to change the constitution to create spaces for some individuals. And there are propagandists out there ready to, to fight a referendum for their own political selfish interest. So I think it is a paramount for all the political players to forget about their ambitions, forget about their interests politically, and come to realization that this country needs a constitutional change for the better for our generation, not for ourselves, for our generations to come. So this idea of saying we are creating a position for somebody, this somebody, I've yet to see a person who has lived more than 100 years or 200 years so that he'll be in a position of prime minister forever. This is a position for our future generations, not for an individual. Now, the reason why the BBI came up is because of the handshake that let's determine the problems that we have faced year in, year out as a country and how best we can solve it. And one of the proposals was that this constitution one has been very unfair, that representation of this country is not fair. Some tribes are feeling left out and they'll never see power. Even if whatever comes, they'll never see power because they're not coming up to the numbers required to win the presidency. So how do we do it? We need to expand the structure of the executive so that all the communities, and in a country that is so tribal like our country, you need to have a parliamentary system where all communities, all regions feel that they are represented. the reason why even the former President Moi was able to rule this country for long is because all the communities felt that they are part of the government. You can see Ole Ntimama from Maasai, very powerful minister. You could see another one, a very powerful minister. And that's why members of parliament are also suggesting that these ministers or CS, whatever we call them, must come from parliament. Because that's how people feel they're represented. But if you have a minister who was working in the UN, and then he comes and head a ministry here, he does not know how teachers are feeling out there. He does not know. He has never known how the common mwananchi feels. So he does not represent. He doesn't know how to represent the interests of the common mwananchi.
You cannot relate with people.
You cannot relate. And you need those people to be in parliament so that you can question them. If you have a matatu strike, you can question the Minister for Transport when you are seen in parliament, not to give him a 7 months notice to come and appear in the committee. And after that, he'll write to you. He'll actually formulate a trip overseas in the process of waiting to appear. But if the members of parliament are also ministers, you'll find very powerful ministers as it were a few years ago. And people feel represented. If a Maasai there, if, for example, MP for Kajiado is a minister for transport, the Maasai feel this government is for us. But if you find a minister for transport, he just came from service, public service, or he was working in the UN, he has no touch with the Maasai, they'll not feel part of the government. Therefore, they feel they're excluded. So there are a number of things that the Constitution, the BBI needs to come up with. The question will be, what are these that we need to change? But you are unanimous that the Constitution must change. But what are these that we need to change? That's where the question is.
Now, there are people who talk about roles. They say the roles should be distributed across the board. And you've alluded to that, talking about sharing. There is the aspect of allocation of money to the counties. So far, are you satisfied with the allocation of monies into the county, even as we look into the referendum?
There is a big problem when it comes to allocation of money to the counties, but there are two issues here. Whatever is allocated to the county, to me, is not enough. Because when we talk about development, and we want to devolve development, we have to devolve resources up to the lowest level possible. That would mean ward, not even the county. We have to make sure that the money devolved proportionally reaches even the ward level. What we are seeing currently, which now before I talk about the national cake, how it's divided, that small one which is going to the county, is it helping our people? Those are the big questions we need to answer.
And do you see a referendum solving that?
Referendum, it will. It will. Ask me how.
Before he answers out, first of all, I don't know what the UN did to you so that then... I know it was an example. You gave it 3 times and I was sure.
Can I say something on what Kaleba said?
Yes.
These so-called technocrats who are now heading the ministries in the government, you look at the way they are working.
Do you have a problem with that?
A big one. A big one.
Are they delivering?
Look at the current ministers we have. I can tell you they are colorless. Why? They don't know the plight of the people of Kenya. They don't have opportunity to listen to the people of Kenya. These people are like a manna from heaven. They are not generated from the people down here. And they lack a lot. It's only that we don't want to name names. But if you go outside there, you find some of them are only comfortable with the security escort, making a lot of noise. They can get access to money. They visit their home areas and they're bossy.
Are they delivering?
They can't deliver because they are not answerable to anyone. You know, like me now, when I go back to Migori and my constituency, the people who elected me will come and ask me, what are you doing for us? But if you are not elected by anyone, you are not answerable to anyone, and you can only go outside there. After all, the job was given to me by the president. You are not the people. We want things to be given by the people, not an individual giving you, then you want to serve an individual. We want people who are answerable to Kenyans, not people who are answerable to an individual.
And that's why ministers who never used to perform, they were punished on the ballot. Because they say, hey, you've been a minister for water, you didn't do this, kwenda nyumbani. And they were punished. Actually, they are not re-elected. But here,
So here
Let me mention names.
we have people here. You can.
I can. I mean, it's all in the public domain. We have even had the head of president telling some ministers that your work is just to wait for funerals over the weekend and go and politic. You're seeing the flip-flopping in the Ministry of Education, in that today you hear something, tomorrow you hear something else. My good friend Echesa, I mean, you've seen the wrangles that he's been having in Kakamega. Is that the reason why he...
And you call that one a minister?
Is that the reason why he was...
But they are moving around.
Moving around. Ram, just wait. Just Ram, wait. Even when it comes to where it's reported that the head of state is reprimanding a minister in front of people and asking them, what are you doing?
yeah.
I mean, your work is just to politic in funerals. What does that show?
Ram, we saw Kenyan teams playing final yesterday in Tanzania. Where was the sports minister?
Probably in a funeral somewhere in Kakamega.
Where was the sports minister?
Does not even...
Where?
Maybe.
Does he first of all know the sports?
That was a pride. That was a pride to us. That our two countries, our two clubs.
I mean, he was not there. I mean, sometimes I tell you that it's like you stay in heaven.
No,
you watch news. He was not there.
These are the reasons why we would say that some seats should be removed.
Not really. It's not...
They should be put correctly.
Yeah,
in a correct, or given to a correct person.
You can see, I think you watch, or maybe you are private, what is happening in Britain and UK.
Yes.
And you can see the Prime Minister, Theresa May, struggling to convince members of parliament on how Brexit is good for the country.
Of which there are people who are even against.
Yes, and she is struggling there, right in parliament. She's the Prime Minister of one of the biggest economies.
Are you satisfied with the allocation of money into the counties?
I support my colleague that we need to increase the amount of money in the counties, but is the counties the way they are structured? Even if we give it 90% of our national budget, then we have 70% of it going to recurrent expenditure. We need first of all to look at it. How come that the 15% we've been able to devolve to the counties, almost 70% of it is going to the recurrent? There must be something wrong with the county structures. In the first place, it's not about giving them money. Even if you give them 100, give them all the national resources, and then they take 70% of it.
They will still not deliver.
They still not deliver. So it is about how they were structured.
So
that how come that 70% of this money is going for recurrent? So there must be something wrong first in how the counties were structured to enable that they are able to spend only 30% for development. Why? Where are the rest going? So even if you give them all our resources, they'll still spend on them on recurrent. So it's not about giving them money. How are they structures to enable them? In fact, the idea behind devolution was to enable counties with their natural resources to be able to become self-sufficient. Like a county like where my good friend come from, Kisumu, Homa Bay,
Migori.
Siaya, Migori. That's supposed to be one county to make use of economies of scale of fishing. So that even if they are deciding to make a factory, there is an economy of scale of making a big factory. A county of 200, 300 people, what factory can it be? Like where I come from.
So you are alluding that we should have a reduction
so that they
in the number of counties.
become self-reliant. They are producing locally. They are generating their own revenue.
Let me get it from you,
Ram, devolution was meant to be a very beautiful story. And my two friends here will tell you that in some counties, what the MP gets as a CDF kitty, you can see the impact more than what the the counters are getting.
Develop faster than others.
In my county, and I'm not ashamed to say this, you can see what the MP is doing rather than what the governor is doing. A story is told, I don't know whether it's a joke, of a county where the MCAs went to Rwanda to benchmark on something, and then they were told we benchmarked in Kiambu on whatever that we are doing here. So that at the end of the day, we are having MCAs bonding, governors, I don't know, benchmarking, CECs globe-trotting, so that as much as we think of how we are going to increase the resources, what is the absorption rate? And one of the challenges that I've come to realize is that, and this needs to be addressed from Parliament, is the timely allocation. So that then at the end of the day, these counties are able to get that money when it's due. So that then at the end of the day, we don't have that relapse, so that there is that window where whatever was budgeted for, it's not done during that year. But so far so good, we need to re-examine how counties are going to absorb that money.
So where is the loophole?
the loophole, I believe, is still in the structure itself. Okay. So that then, once the county assemblies pass the budget, do they really follow up to see its implementation?
No. You know, there are ministers out there in the county assembly. When I go to visit my constituents, you hear a minister was here. And then I was, which minister? For foreign affairs. You just realize, the minister from the county is such a big person, earning such a huge sums of money. But now, the presence of that minister is not being felt. It's just a big name. So there's so much that went into titles and the positions, and not so much focus on the development.
Now, I'll still insist on one point here.
Yes.
It's good to devolve money.
Yes.
Up to what level? I'll still insist.
Yes.
Devolution will only benefit Kenyans if we devolve this money up to the ward level. Not giving money to the county and you stop it there. We'll give a lot of money at one central point for people to take away corruptly. Let us devolve this money and have ward committees to budget with their money at the ward level. No. So that we can also make our MCS relevant.
Do we, okay, maybe to make us understand, as Kenyans, do you have any specific or let me say particular clauses within the constitution that are subject for change when it comes to the referendum? Let me start with you, Amisi.
Repeat your question again.
Do we have any specific parts of the constitution or clauses of the constitution, any place, aspects from the constitution that needs to be changed, even as we talk about the referendum?
Yeah, I think we've agreed the executive needs to be expanded so that we have the introduction of the post of the prime minister, the deputies, and maybe the selection of that prime minister is now the bone of contention. Probably that's what people are working on. How is he selected? Is it from the majority party? Is it appointed by the president? Is he going to the ballot? Those are now the points to check. The other thing is the post of the minister. Ministers should actually be members of National Assembly, so that after MPs have been elected, the president is allowed to choose ministers from the members of the parliament. It goes through the normal vetting process, but they must come from there so that they're answerable directly to the members of parliament who are the oversight of the executive. And the other areas maybe we need to check is these positions of nomination. Because Kenyans, if you go to, there is a county, actually where I come from, my county, Trans Nzoia, the number of nominated MCAs are more than elected. Yeah. So you can imagine why, and you'll find young girls in that county who are just from schools. They have been nominated inside the county. If you take them to a rally, they cannot even speak.
Are you sure with what you're saying?
What if they were young boys?
They are young girls and boys. They are
young
nominated.
Girls and boys nominated.
They are nominated. They do not even are not aware of what they're supposed to do in that county assembly. They are just going trips, coming back, and they're there. So I think we need to relook at this slots for nomination. Nomination was supposed to be like affirmative action. Maybe for the women, or for the disabled, for youth representations. We have heard even in our own National Assembly, people who have been nominated to represent the youth. So which youth were they representing? How many youth have they been represented? So how was this representation? We need to look at how much money we've been given to these nomination slots. How much money? They actually earn a salary, they get other remuneration like any other member of parliament. But to what extent are their services to the common mwananchi? We need to relook at them. What are they doing? We have so many members of, like, let's say I'm a member of parliament. If we appear on a podium, in a funeral or whatever function, we'll have an MCA, unnominated MCA from that ward, 2 MCAs from the same ward, now a member of parliament, a senator, a women rep, a nominated senator, a CEC, all in one function. And there is also protocol. Now start with this one. You let the whole day people are just speaking, talking, because you can't miss one person to speak. So there is a lot of mixture of functions, people sharing. Like for example, why do I need all those people in one constituent?
Yes.
Yeah. Representing the same people.
Now there is something that the Moses Kura, or Honorable Moses Kura had said about the removal of this seat of the nominated MCAs, plus the seat of the women representative.
You cannot remove an MCA. Nomination, yes. But what Moses Kuria was suggesting is that we need to reduce the number of MCAs. You know, some of these delimitation of boundaries were done with the you know, uniqueness of areas in terms of tribal arithmetics and all that. So if you try to remove even one ward, that tribe starts coming up. You know, you can't take away our ward. We are this tribe, we are the smallest, we are the minority. Now we have no representation. So I think some of these proposals in the referendum must not just be jumped together. We need to, yes, change the constitution, but carefully, so that we do not also disturb our, you know, togetherness as a nation. So the position of the county assembly, I think, is something that we need to rethink about it first. Maybe in the near future we can change, but not something we can't just change because of we need a constitutional change.
Let me hear it from you, Reba. Yeah. The seat of the women representatives.
I think first of all is that as a legislator, he has really alluded to the fact that he also feels overrepresented. Yeah. I mean, I thought you don't feel that. That is the same thing I feel. And unfortunately, now I have a member of parliament who's nominated to represent interest of me as a youth. We have a senator who's nominated to represent interest of me as a youth. I don't know them. I don't feel them. I mean, at the end of the day, they're also earning. What are they doing? So these MCAs and other nominated posts, I mean, it's just some kind of duplication, which at the end of the day, we don't feel it's need.
Should we remove the seat of the women rep?
Like yesterday. My answer is very clear. And who are they representing? So at the end of the day, do we also think of now having men represent? You know,
I found the women rep addressing youth. So I said, but you are a women rep. Why are you addressing boys here? Are you representing? So we are representing the same people.
The same people.
Now, you will agree with us. Why are you talking to border boys that you are a women rep? You're supposed to be talking to Mama Mboga.
My colleague Doreen Arange is on standby from the location to give us the feedback concerning what people are saying on the road. Doreen.
All right, thank you very much, Ram. And I'm just here along Mombasa Road, you know, just trying to get Kenyan views concerning this issue of referendum, whether or not they support it, and also this concern concerning the Prime Minister's position. So I'm just joined by Christine. She'll be telling us her opinion. So Christine, good morning, and you're live on KBC. So just tell us, what is your thoughts concerning this issue of having a referendum?
Okay, good morning too. I'm Christine. Okay, personally, as to me, the campaign they are doing for referendum, to me, we should projects that are already on, and the ones that are still, we focus on finishing them instead of referendum. Referendum will take us back. In 2010, we begin again, instead of focusing on what we have now.
So you feel like we should not have a referendum, we should just focus on the projects that were put ahead?
Yeah. I feel we should not focus on this referendum because, to me, it's politics. We have to build our Kenya the way forward on how to improve as Kenya in our economy instead of... because when we start referendum, another group will say, let's start another referendum. Yeah.
What about the position of Prime Minister? Do you think we should reintroduce that position together with his two deputies?
Not really. It won't be of any function. Yeah.
You feel like it won't be of any function? Okay, because we've had some MPs coming out to say that, you know, the Prime Minister is going to at least help the President to delegate duties. So you still feel even as much as he might come in and help the President, we still don't need to have that kind of position?
No, because the President will come with the state officials, the CSS, and he'll have a deputy to help him or help him in any time he's not in.
All right, thank you very much, Christine. All right, Ram, these are just some of the sentiments from Kenyans here, you know, in Nairobi, just saying that Miss Christine saying that, you know, she doesn't think that we need to be having a referendum, and also she doesn't think that we need to have a position of, you know, Prime Minister together with his deputies. She feels that, you know, we need to be focusing more on development projects and what Kenyans were promised, and not focus on referendum or even having position of PMs and deputy Prime Ministers. Although I'm still continuing to get some views from Kenyans, and, you know, I'll still be linking up with you, Ram, later on to just continue to give you divergent views of what Kenyans think concerning referendum and concerning this issue of Prime Minister, and also what they think about, you know, scrapping off the position of women reps. Ram.
All right, thank you very much, Doreen. That is just a snippet of what people are talking about. Remember, you can also be part of this discussion. On Twitter, at KBC Television, at Ram Aguko, the hashtag is Good Morning Kenya, at Jane Wambui. What do you think about the referendum debate? Is it a must? Should we have it? Do we need it like yesterday? Or do we just avoid it and just continue with matters development? Right now, I would like you to send in your tweets, even as you continue. Now, Honorable Odege, I was just about to come to you before we went to Doreen. Maybe you can give you can share in your sentiments concerning what we were talking about.
Let me start by responding to what I've listened to. We need to educate Kenyans. Yeah, because it's like we go to Kenyans when they don't know what they are supposed to debate about.
That lady has said that we don't need the seat of the Prime
but
Minister.
when you look at the response of the lady, is like the lady is ambushed. She is not aware of whatever she was supposed to respond to, because whatever we are discussing about referendum is not about Prime Minister. She is talking about the government to deliver on the promises they made. But the delivery is having a problem. That's why we want a debate on referendum and come up with a structure which can enhance service delivery to them, but not pegging the debate on referendum on the post of Prime Minister. I think that one is wrong. It's a missed point. So that one, in the first place, we need to correct that.
All right.
So when we come back to our discussion of today on the issue of representation,
yes.
This topic, we need to make Kenyans understand and debate it freely so that we come up with a very agreeable structure of the government. There are so many things duplicated in the system which we have currently. My brother here has talked about women rep. My colleague Caleb has talked about nomination because you'll find more people are nominated, like MCAs, I think over 800. Yeah. Over 800 are nominated. When you come on my side now, I'll also ask, when you talk about county assembly, they check on the executive at the county level. When you come on Senate, the Senate is almost doing the same role of county assembly, but in different words. Same.
Oversight.
Oversight. So if county assembly cannot oversight the executive at the county level, then we have Senate to do it.
Between the Senate and the county
assembly.
Who should be doing the work of oversight?
One of them should go, because we have two levels
Senate
doing the same.
Senate should go.
Okay, I'm debating like a Kenyan. I just want you look at me not as the MP for Nyatike, but as a Kenyan born in Nyatike.
Now, as a Kenyan, between the Senate
Born
and
in
the county
Nyatike.
assembly, which one should do the work of oversight and which one should go?
Okay, the two are doing. So it's upon the Kenyan public to determine who can do it best.
Okay.
But currently, we have a function being done by two organs.
Between the Senate and the county and the MCAs, but many people have been complaining about the MCAs. About
we all agree that one needs to go, and which one is, I think, a conversation that we can have. But we cannot have the MCAs go. That is as a factor. In that, what we are saying at the end of the day is that representation needs to come from the basic unit on the ground. Two issues that have come up. Are the MCAs doing that oversight in the best way that they can be able to do? We are told of stories where the MCAs have used their positions as some kind of extortion racket, so that then you summon a governor or you summon a CEC, so that then at the end of the day, he can approve your trip to some other place. You know the wrangles that we have been having in some counties, so that if the MCAs do not get their way, then at the end of the day, they come up with threats. So these are some of the issues that we need to address in terms of in terms of now trying to get the value to Kenyans. What we agree from this panel is that Kenyans need value for their taxes. Yeah. Devolution needs to work. Those are issues that I don't think that we are debating about.
There is something that, Honorable, you had mentioned, that the Constitution has been there for 10 years now. it's time that we change it. And I would like maybe to know if you would clarify, how many times do we need to relook a constitution? After what period? Does it need a duration? And Areba, you are a lawyer. Does it need a duration of maybe overseeing?
Let me say this. The reason why I was talking about the 10 years, this was 10 years of implementation. And already, we are in a position now to analyze areas where we think this one is good, this one is bad. A 10-year period, when you work for 10 years, even if you are a kid of 10 years, is almost in class 4. Yeah, that one is now an old girl or old boy. So in 10 years, I think we are in the best position to sit back and say, okay, the Katiba we have, there are loopholes. How do we tackle the loopholes? But amending constitution can even be done after 1 month.
After 1 month, yeah.
It's not a must, you have to wait for a period. It will depend on issues which are emerging and challenges that kind of clause is bringing. But this one of 10 years, we can now look at it holistically and say, now when you listen to Caleb can clearly tell you, it's like the structure of nomination is bloated. When you talk about the learned advocate here, we'll tell you the women rep, if they are overrepresented. He is represented by an MCA, is represented by the governor, is represented by the MP, is represented by the senator, and the president himself. So according to him, is overrepresented. If you ask me, I'll say in the oversight of county government, it looks like there is duplication. So in our 10 years of experience, we can now come out clearly and pinpoint areas we feel should be corrected.
And maybe to add on, every constitution is not cast on stone. There are always loopholes. They are just the laws that we've made as human beings. Last year, I was in a very small Eastern Europe country called Romania. And that particular time I was there, they are doing an amendment to their constitution. Just to change, to look at the law where it says that a marriage is between 2 people. So that in essence, it is legalizing homosexual. Because when you say 2 people, it can be a man and a man. So they were just changing, yes. So they are just changing to make sure that that aspect to say that it's a man between two people of opposite sex. So a small thing that we are doing, the whole country is going to vote for it. So what we are doing now as a country is an holistic change of several aspects of the Constitution. But anything in the Constitution that anybody can wake up and think this is not right, you are free to present to the public and say, let's change this one.
Now, there's one aspect. The president appointed the CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, to chair a committee, the National Development Implementation and Communication Cabinet Committee. And this debate has been going on for a long time. Does that appointment, does that role that the CS now has, does it affect the role of the deputy president? Let me start with you, Areba.
I think in my considered view on reading the provisions of the executive under the Constitution and looking at what it also provides under the roles of the deputy president, legally it's correct to do that. Politically it's not.
Legally correct, politically not.
Legally the president did not have, legally the president acted on what the law provides for him. Politically, or rather politically it's viewed that it was not probably the best thing to do, so that then you're having the jokes have been going that you're having the deputy president reporting to a minister when it comes to development. But I will want us to look at this whole, like, the president and the deputy president are part of the presidency as an institution, in that then the presidency makes decisions collectively. That is as per what then the Constitution will be providing. So that then the CS Matiang'i is answerable to the presidency, not to the president. That is how I will be able to interpret it. All these other interpretations are political interpretations, which we are allowed to have.
Now, does it contain even a political message if you talk about the appointment of the CS?
It's the problem we have as Kenyans. We tend to read a lot from any move made by the president or we make politically. But you'll agree with me, the deputy president, even if you go to the constitution we have currently, his work is purely to deputize the president. All these other things like launching projects, working anyhow, making political statements, are not constitutional to him. So, to me, what the president has done is very good because using the public, and especially when it comes to development and projects, politically, and giving people empty promises, was giving this government a very bad image. And if this thing is delinked from his office and given to officers who are going to be responsible and people who are not allowed to make political statements, I think we'll give him a lot of credit. Because where we were going, we were losing this country because you could see a deputy president walking anywhere in the country, making so many promises and so many projects, and none of them is ongoing. So we were going to end up with a talking government with nothing in it. So we better have a government which is being run on ideologies which are based on some technocrats, which I think Nyatike can offer. This one will reduce the empty talks and bringing hope where there is nothing. To me, for the country, this is the best move. But for my friend William, what I can tell him, let him concentrate in the presidency. Let them leave Kenyans and the cabinet work for us. Let them, they were voted as president and the deputy president. Let them lead the country at that level. But on this other side of service delivery, let it be done by the technocrats.
Honorable Misi, could it be at some point, some people allude to the fact that maybe the appointment of C.S. Matiang'i is something that is a constitutional change without a referendum. Do you think that at some point some roles were taken from the office of the deputy president into
is it just some people or you, the media? Why can't you just say we alluded?
We alluding.
Which role?
As the members of the fourth state, we alluded because we actually read it. We actually read it from the media. You see, like the other day, the former prime minister went to Congo. He's a very good friend of the current president who just inaugurated in Tshisekedi. And even whether there was a handshake or not, prime minister could have gone to Congo. And then the president went to Congo as a head of state of Kenya. Now, when they meet there, what the people say that why does the president carry Raila and not deputy president? And yet they have gone there on their own separate, you know. So I think the way you portray your message to the public is also something of concern, but we respect your work as well. Like this, yes, we do respect your work, but how you portray the message is now what the public end up consuming wrong messages. Yes. So like this one of Matiang'i. The president, you know, has powers to, you know, through executive orders, to reorganize his cabinet, to even abolish some cabinet positions or merge them together. Those are powers within the executive, the powers vested in the president. And whatever I did, I must have noticed that maybe my partner, whom we were elected together, is so much focused on 2022, his ambitions, and therefore is not able to deliver as we were delivering together in the first few years. So therefore, let me relieve him of some duties and give to a specific person whom I've gained, you know, confidence in how he has been performing his work. And that is not a message to show that maybe they are not in harmony or is he trying to push him away. Is that something that they are. They know, you know, these presidents, the way he has spoken about it, that's where they are voted together. When you see the ballot paper, it was the Uhuru, and alongside there was also William Ruto. It was not Uhuru alone. It's not when the president used to choose a vice president in a funeral or on a roadside. This one, you are selected together on the same ballot. So they were cushioning the vice president or the deputy president from just being anyhowly hauled out of parliament, government. So having been elected together, then they owe to Kenyans to perform duties together as the presidents. Because without one of them, maybe the other one could not have been elected. And the same does not take the powers of the presidency from the presidency. Yeah. It is still vested in the president. So the president also has the powers to actually assign duties to his deputy and tell him, hey, today you'll be in charge of flowers in State House. Today you'll be in charge of catering or visitors. We have visitors from US.
Those are examples.
Those are examples.
Those are examples.
So those are the powers of the president to his deputy. So he's acting within his powers, and we should not read so much about it.
Now, my colleague Doreen Arange is on standby on location. What people are saying concerning the appointment of the CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i. Doreen.
All right, thank you very much, Ram. And I'm still here, just getting views of Kenyans concerning, this elective position. And I just be seeking to get opinion from a gentleman here, just to get to understand what he thinks concerning the appointment of Dr. Fred Matiang'i, as well as the referendum calls and also the position of women representatives. So maybe you can just tell us your name and what you think concerning the position of Dr. Fred Matiang'i and his appointment and his role.
I'm Vincent Mangera. And concerning the appointment of Mr. Matiang'i as the overall CS, I think when someone performs in the past roles that he's been given for the past one term that the President Kenyatta has been serving, I think he deserves it. And there's no need for quarrels over his appointment as an overall minister.
All right.
Yeah.
So just look at me. So you think that he deserves that particular position?
Sure, he deserves, and if anything, there should be no politics concerning his appointments. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the position of women representatives. Just look at me. There's been a lot of, questions coming in. Some people saying that this position should be scrapped up. So do you feel that the position of women representative should be removed?
The common mwananchi normally goes to the ballot, elects the women rep without knowing her roles in the first place. Secondly, it should be scrapped off because nobody knows the role the women reps have been playing, and they've only been asking for money, which, as a CDF kitty, that's to say, which the MPs also get. So it's kind of a wastage of public funds, and on my overview, I can say we are being, as a Kenyans, being overrepresented.
But these women are representing the issues of girls and women, and they are in the best position to understand whatever issues that women are facing. So when they are there as women representatives, then they are tabling some of these issues that young girls and women face, and they table it to the parliament. So if it's scrapped off, then who remains to ensure that actually young girls and women are represented in parliament?
We have nominated MPs. We also have some elected women MPs, not women reps, but women who, by virtue of luck, they enter to parliament through citizens' elections. So these issues can be sorted out by the elected MPs, the MCS down there, and we have the constitutional set bodies that have the mandate to see the rights of these ladies and girls. Yeah.
What about the referendum? Do you think we need to be having a referendum?
We should. In fact,
Why?
down history, we had Okoa Kenya, which failed. And secondly, after Okoa Kenya failing, see, when everybody, yesterday I saw in news, the Muslim bodies saying we should be having the referendum. One, to reduce the wage bill, that's the money that goes to payment of women reps, a very large number of MCAs that we have in this country, and that's why I was saying we should scrap off some parts of county assemblies or county wards, or merge them, because some county wards have a smaller population that should be merged.
All right, so thank you very much for your opinion. Of course, this is just some of the opinion coming in from Kenyans. Some saying that actually we need to be having that position of women representatives scrapped off because they feel that we are overrepresented, represented, and a lot of Kenyans' wage bill is going, just to pay people, and there's nothing really much they are doing in terms of the role that they are performing, So I'm just also joined by another gentleman, and he'll just be telling us, his name and also what he thinks about the position of the Prime Minister and his deputies. Tell us what your name is and what you think of the Prime Minister and his deputies. Do you think that we should reintroduce the position again?
I'm Kimani. I don't think it's necessary for them to bring in the slot of the Prime Minister, because apparently we have a workload of the taxes that we are giving out for the slots of all the positions that they are in, all the MCAs, the senators, the MPs, the president. This is a lot for the Kenyan citizen. So if they bring another slot, which apparently is not helping, they want to bring the slot because of the handshake or the other thing, which we don't know. So as for my opinion, I don't think it's something necessary. All
right, but sentiments have come in that this particular position is going to help the president, to control and to have a control of, duties, because, some members of parliament, some cabinet secretaries are not performing as per task. And so this position is really going to help the president in ensuring that people really, perform as per task. So you still feel that even at that, we still don't need to be having such kind of a position?
I don't think so. He has the deputy president and also the party leaders, because the ruling party has its own MP leaders in the majority or something of the sort. So as for running the government, the slots that he has full control of most of the decisions that he makes, his cabinet and all that. So I don't think the slot of a prime minister will really help. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So Ram, these are just some of the sentiments from Kenyans, across the street. Some saying that they don't think these positions need to be introduced. We need to be focusing on what, building Kenya and promises that were made to Kenyans. Just earlier on, I was speaking to this gentleman who's saying that he doesn't think that this position of PM needs to be introduced because the president needs to be having full control over, the people that have been elected. So just divergent views coming in from Kenyans. Some saying that yes, we should be having referendum. Some saying that no. Some saying that women reps need to be scrapped off, something that really they're doing a good job. Just a lot of different views from Kenyans concerning these particular issues here on the streets. Ram, back to you in studio.
All right, thank you very much. Those are the views that we are having on location concerning what we are talking about. There's one of them who mentioned that the women rep seat should be removed, and he talked about wastage of public funds. And there is you had mentioned a little bit of that. I don't know what you would say. Do you concerning the comment that listener
I
said?
think most Kenyans are agreeing with what we are saying.
It's like you had discussed.
Yeah, it's like we had discussed before, before coming here. Yeah. But you can see we are representing the views. That's why we are elected. We are representing the views of the people who elected us, and when we talk even in the live media like this, we are here because of we interact with Kenyans and we feel what has been burdening them on their daily activities. So you can see live when the Kenyans are speaking, they're actually agreeing what we are saying. Some seats needs to be abolished, and the example is that for women rep and the nominated seats, people are really not clearly seeing the importance of that seat. They have not really, been beneficial to common mwananchi. So we are unanimous with the Kenyans that we need to change.
There is a tweet, and I would like to read it. The hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. I think the referendum debate should not be used to accommodate and he has put it in quotes, losers, because in a race where everyone wins, there is lack of democracy.
It's also a misrepresentation of information. The president talked about inclusivity, and that inclusivity was not about accommodating the losers. In in a democracy like ours, Kenya, where we have a president who has won with 7 million, and his opponent closest who has maybe 6,800,000. Clearly, we are saying this second first runners-up is representing a certain constituent of this country that may feel left out of governance. So the best way is to see how we can maybe incorporate the first runners-up with a certain threshold, not just any person who has gotten 3,000
or anyone who went for the presidential race.
No, we are talking about a person with a sizable following that probably can have a special seat in the Senate or a very strong structured opposition office that is even, payable by the government. So those are the areas that maybe we need to look at as Kenyans, because we are not yet gotten the referendum question. And those are the areas we need to look at.
And I quote, we don't want the National Assembly to have only men if they have a problem with the women representative title. Then they should consider changing the name, but make sure they maintain the seat for women. That is something that the Baringo women representative,
they should actually look at the UK Parliament. Yeah, the women's are just a few of them. They are full of men. The Parliament is functioning very well.
Let me get it from you, Honorable.
Yeah.
Do we change just the name, but maintain the seat?
She has missed our discussion. we were not.
This is something she had said earlier, not today.
Okay, but let me say that we are not here to crucify women. What we are saying, and if I can borrow from my friend here, the advocate, we were talking about the roles. He was talking about overrepresentation. So it's not the idea of male MPs having problem with women. No.
You don't have any problem.
That one is missing the
You
top.
only have a problem with the seat.
Not really the seat. He talked about overrepresentation, and then he talked about the roles.
Yeah.
Let us base our argument on the two.
Do we need a change in the title, but maintain the position?
No. You see, what the discussion you're having is, what is this special that this seat can do or implement that the other seat cannot be able to do? I mean, that is the discussion we are having. Can my friend here and the other one, Caleb, be able to donate sanitary pads? Yes. Can they be able to give water tanks? Yes. Then why do we also need somebody else to also come with a kitty of giving out water tanks and giving out sanitary pads? So it's not about any particular individual or any particular seat. We are looking at this holistically, because if we are going to talk about even nomination in county assemblies, women and men are going to be affected. If we are going to talk about nominated seats in where they sit at parliament, then we are also going to have some men being affected. So it's not about the seat of women per se, so that then we change it and say special representative. No. We are looking at the overrepresentation as a general concept.
And I don't think most women want to be given this thing on a silver platter. Most of them,
want
to earn it. They want to work. The famous women leaders we've had across the globe, Theresa May, the German Chancellor, you see they are earning. They go to the election, they are voted in. They are not nominated. So they also want to feel that they've earned this position and they are worthy competition out there.
Now, the Constitution under Article 100 clarifies women as a special interest group. Should they be seen as a special interest group? Is there a cause for this? That is the discussion we're having this morning. I'm joined by Honorable Caleb Amisi, MP Sapoti constituency, Areba Omoyo, analyst and lawyer. Happy birthday.
It's my birthday. Thank you. Where's the cake?
We will find out where the cake is.
Thank you so much.
And Honorable Tom Odege, MP, Nyatike Constituency. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming to the show. This morning, it brings us to the end of Good Morning Kenya. See you again tomorrow for another edition. Keep tweeting, keep testing, keep this conversation going. My name is Roa Maguko. God bless you.